My father had an expression he often used when he was greeting people. He'd say, "Well, what do you know for sure?" And of course, that's the kind of question that can be answered any number of ways. Usually it's ignored, I guess, but I got to thinking about it because what I'm going through right now, as you know, I'm being treated for cancer that is in my skull base and has affected nerves, affecting sensation up here and the eye. But you notice something if you looked at these videos, that left eye is open now. Just got back from Texas, where I'm being seen at the MD Anderson Cancer Center there. And the scan and the clinical examinations, which are just a matter of looking you in the face, both were very encouraging. Like, whoa, that eye's open. Immunotherapy that I've been getting apparently is working. It doesn't work for everybody. And in fact, the odds, if you look at the data on that, are right around 50%. No one really knows for sure. Why does this work for some? Why not for others? How long will it work? Well, I don't know that either at this point. But all I know is that my signs have of disease have gotten better. That is, they've improved. I can see from that eye, although I still have double vision and have to watch how I compensate, especially if I'm driving. But that's really not that hard to do. And I have no pain, so my life has been normal. It's been a great July, as I've shared earlier. Scientists don't know for sure. But there's another piece to my good fortune so far, which I hope and pray will continue. And that's because many others are hoping and praying for me as well. Oftentimes, especially in the time we're speaking here, which is July of 2023, we're in an era where faith is under, if not direct attack, certainly a great deal of skepticism and often sort of a condescending dismissal by those who just don't want any part of it because they think, that we're beyond that. We're too smart to need God. Um, and what happens then, I think, is that science and faith end up on a collision course. And that really is a shame because I'm a great believer in science, but also a great believer that God has a role in our lives and that He is showing us that role all the time. And that prayer matters. And rather than seeing faith and science on a collision course, I am starting to characterize them more as a circular approach where the quest for truth really comes up from both sides, and rather than colliding at the top, there's a merge. The smarter we get with science, and indeed the scientists that I trust most, are likely to say what they don't know and admit that freely, rather than jump to conclusions or dismiss other influencers or factors that they may not know much about. By the same token, fanatic religion, in my mind, is an affront to science and really to good sense because I think we know time and time again when science and religion reach an impasse and religion digs in, typically they're going to eventually lose that fight. Which isn't to say that it diminishes the argument for God in any way. It doesn't. All it does is show us more about the complexity of the engagement of the physical and spiritual worlds. And I think that's something that some in the fundamentalist field of religion tend to forget. What we end up doing then is perhaps the extreme views of denying medical care to people who would certainly benefit from it. Certainly, I have so far, and continue to really be somewhat encouraged by how well I've done clinically. Which isn't to say that God hasn't had a role. I don't know in full what the purpose of my life is, but I'm discovering it, and all of the experiences I'm going through now are helping to make that more clear to me. That's a spiritual dimension. That isn't a physical or a secular conversation. It's a partnership. Science, medical science in particular, is apparently benefiting me. I believe it is. I think I have now proof, and you can see it. If you look at some of the other videos, you can see that this eye is working better. I can tell you that the numbness that goes along with it is also diminishing. I can tell you, too, that the treatments I've received have delivered essentially no side effects at all, so I'm going about a normal life. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful to the scientists who are overseeing my progress. Uh, if they're smart and honest with me, both of those things really, they will admit they don't know how long this will last. They don't really know why I'm benefiting and others don't. There are aspects of biology that are just over the heads of even the greatest experts. By the same token, concurrent to that, even as the expertise grows, and I'm committed to my case being used in any way possible to advance scientific understanding, but I also know that the dimension of spiritual engagement, that God's role in this is very real and palpable. The prayers that others have offered me, I know I'm getting those prayers because I can feel the difference. I can feel the difference not only physically, but also mentally and indeed spiritually. I'm much calmer about all the things that are going on in my life right now, including those things I don't like, that namely cancer, uh, without having to feel as though I have to choose between faith or science. Again, science will learn more about how the human body operates. Hopefully, that will lead to better treatments and cures for diseases that presently are baffling to everybody. But God has a role in that. God works through human beings. He works through you and me, whether we're doctors or not, in our engagements with others. We become part of the answer to prayer to the people that we feel strongly obligated to help, which really ought to be everybody. It gives purpose to life and hope to those who are facing scary diagnoses as I am. The diagnosis of cancer is really pretty daunting. Uh, but you live through it by the help of others who are doing God's work and by the help of scientists who are also doing God's work. It's not a collision course. Science and theology and spirituality don't have to collide, one pushing against the other. There's a natural integration there that can and should happen, and when it does, I believe we do reach the essence of truth, as well as respect for all that we have going for us, including those things that we don't understand, that are based on limited knowledge or faith alone. Thanks.